I see.
Hello, how are you, Julie?
Good. How are you? Just rushing down my lunch.
Well, you are very, very welcome to rush down your lunch as we're doing this. I used to do some of these things as what I used to call a bit of a lunch and learn type of opportunity. So please feel free to use it as such.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. And I've just started the recording, and I'm going to, because I've only really allowed half an hour for this for us today. I'm going to get started right on the dot, which is now, so that we can get through some of this. And I didn't anticipate that we would get the interest as we have. So given that it was going to be mostly me having a chat to you today, and hopefully giving you a little bit of value and how to perhaps think of how to attract your clients a little bit differently. I have also put together for us an ebook that will follow this session today, that you all that have shown up today will be able to sign up for and get as a little bit of a gift and a thank you for joining us today. And I will make sure that I get that to you guys over the next day or so. But given it is our time, I might get started and get going, so that we can hopefully get a little bit of time at the end, that if there are any kind of burning questions, that the people have some time to answer that, or for us to answer that. Maybe some of you can help us answer some of these questions. So as you know, our topic today is really around what your clients really want. And in what I do in marketing and in communications, or what I believe I do, is to try and flip the switch a little bit for people. And I know there's quite a few of my clients that are on here today that would have heard me talk on this a lot in our time together. But to me, we need to understand that we are actually working in a sector of people, and we are working with people. So having that human factor is extremely vital to be able to build a really good, strong platform of attraction for our businesses. We tend to think that marketing our businesses and getting more eyes on us requires us to continually tell people what our services are, what we offer, and continually making that offer and doing those sorts of things. And in fact, leading by example is probably where we should be at. And considering that we are in a people business, we are working with people that are not necessarily living their best lives today. And our job, or the reason why we may have created our businesses in the first place, is to help and empower them to actually be able to do exactly just that. So I think we forget that our main focus really in what we are as business owners in the disability sector is to make connection, is to actually connect with people, connect not only with our participants and our clients, but connect with their family, their caretakers, their caregivers, because that's where we really add the value. And I think sometimes we forget that connection piece when we get into a bit of a routine and we show up for our shift and we go home and we do what we think that we're supposed to do when we go home. And we just forget to really sit and listen and figure out what is it that our clients really require and really want. So we may be under the misconception that, you know, your business might specialize in core supports or support coordination or mental health or nursing services, whatever that may be, when in fact you actually specialize in making your clients happy, making your clients' day, having them live a full life. And while there may be some days where that seems that goal is too far-fetched and unattainable, it just isn't really that much of a mystery, because we forget sometimes that we might be the only face that that person sees that day, or potentially even that week. So keeping that in mind is extremely important. So here's how to give your clients what they want and need from you and your business. And that's sort of what I'm going to go through a little bit today. It does become a little bit of a habit that after we've been working with our clients a little bit, the challenges come out. Like I said, we're not working with people that are necessarily having the best day or living their best life right now. So, the difficult times come out after we get into a bit of a routine and we have gotten to know our clients a little bit. So it becomes a bit challenging, and without a doubt, it becomes challenging to satisfy your clients all the time, because sometimes those goalposts move and they shift. So once you and everybody in your team figure out how your client actually really desires to be treated and what they really need from you, your business will thrive. You will have a client for life, and you will be able to actually grow that relationship into something really special. So it's really easy to get caught up in the work and trying to grow your business and trying to make the assumptions about what your client needs, because you're good at your job. You know what you're doing. You know what you're supposed to do. And we get caught up in that bit sometimes. So the main things are really to start to think about what does, not what we offer our clients and what we do and what our expertise is, but what do our clients really need from us as a provider at the end of the day. So there's not necessarily going to be very big surprises here. There's no genius revelations that, is probing the mysterious mind of the client or anything like that here today, because really they're things that you would want yourself if you were a client at the end of the day. So I want to turn your mind to thinking that you are the client. And if you were the client, what would you want? And I can tell you right now, what's not at the top of the client's want list, and that's ignorance and judgment, right? Those kinds of things that can get a little bit of really they shouldn't be doing it that way, or they shouldn't be managing things that way, or whatever. It's not really for us to think or talk about. So enough with the big stick. Let's just look at, really what it is that they want, and really the sole reason why you get to have a business, because the whole reason why you get to have a business is because you've got a client. So we really need to start to focus on them a little bit more. So number one in my book as to what your client really, really want is to be understood. First and foremost, clients want to know that you get them, that you understand their situation, that you get their disability, that you get their daily requirement, their challenges. Not only that, but that you actually seriously get it, and that you are making a plan to achieve the goals that they have set out to achieve. So they expect that you and your team do have some experience and specialized knowledge, and that you've conducted your own research potentially into their situation before you've even tried to convince them to work with you. Because most people don't really want that cookie cutter approach, even though that's what the expectation is, because I think we've become so used to, when we're looking for a service provider, we're looking for a service provider that's providing social support, community access. We look at those keywords that kind of is that's in our buckets. But, how refreshing would it be if you were not a one size fits all kind of situation when you walk through the door, regardless of what you're presented with. And I can tell you right now that there are many, many reports that the NDIS have done on people that are living with disability. And when they were asked how important it is that their objectives are understood by their providers, 71% of them answered that that is extremely important. Goals also vary in age bands and in disability, so it's actually vital to understand what goals really are and why they are such an important part to the NDIS, because the funding is actually allocated to specific goals. So one of your first questions when you're going to a meet and greet for a new potential client, one of your first questions are not around their goals and what they're looking to attain. I hope that that's something that you will change today, and that you make sure, and not just their NDIS goals that their funding's allocated to. Once you have an understanding of that, I hope that the next question is, that's great, I understand that, I'm on the same page as you. Now tell me, outside of that, what are your personal goals? What would make you happy if we could actually, yes, meet those requirements, but what else can we do for you? What personally really drives you, and would you really love to bring into your life again, that you may have not been able to do for a little while, forgot about, lost your mojo in, whatever that might be. So making a decision around what the client actually really, really, truly wants and needs is about, first and foremost, understanding their goals, both personal and their NDIS goals, to make sure that we can actually bring the message across to them that we are really listening, and ask smart questions and then listen some more. Listening is extremely important. We want to go in there and we want them to go with us and sign that service agreement and get underway and work with us. But, you know, all of that will come naturally if people really, really feel heard and connected with. So that connection piece is the most important bit in my book. Number 2, they want solutions and they want person-centered care. So we know all of these words. These are the buzzwords that get thrown at us every single day. But not surprisingly, it's something that's a little difficult for some of us to actually provide to people, because when we think person-centered care, you know, how do we measure? How do we measure that? So most clients actually want a provider that's able to measure and report on the success and the failures and the outcomes and the recommendations that come out of working with them in accordance with their plan. Whilst it's something that probably a lot of people haven't been presented with and haven't said, hey, let's have a sit down and let's have a chat around how we're going. What are we missing? Are we doing everything that you want us to do? And how are you feeling about, you know, what it is that we're doing together and our sessions together? You know, because I can tell you now, the recommendations that comes out of those things really does form a bond. And again, it's about that listening piece, and that our clients really, really feel like we are still looking for that solution. We can't always hit the mark all the time, every single day. It's not possible. But to bring that human factor in and to continue to come back to connection and to listening and to understanding, that is really, really the key. And people will forgive a lot of things if they just feel like they're heard and that they're a person. So it can be very challenging for a lot of providers, especially when it comes to unregistered providers, because they may not have the framework in place to help them with their best practice to really, really service their clients. But that doesn't mean that you can't get it. There's many, many avenues, many people available that are able to help you in those spaces. So look for those people. Talk to those people, have the conversations. We've got so many groups on Facebook that is sharing knowledge, sharing experience, sharing expertise. Don't always listen to the rhetoric that comes out of it, but take the nuggets of gold that some people have to give and actually really learn. Because while providers are getting better at reporting, according to the NDIS, however, clients are still reporting that their measuring and reporting needs are unmet. And, you know, that really comes down to the relationship between them and their provider. So that is probably number 2 in my book, is make sure that when we talk about person-centered care, that we really figure out how we're doing that, okay? And how are we measuring that, and how are we sharing that with our client and making that the crux of our relationship. So number 3 is that they want flexibility, they want agility. And I know that this is difficult. This is one of the things that is very, especially for sole traders. We're a small business. It's not something that comes easy to us. So due to our size and potentially our structure of a lot of our businesses, the fact that the NDIS has guidelines that we need to actually stick to, we can often appear to be a little bit rigid in our approach. And so clients look to their providers to actually be the opposite of that, the antithesis of that rigidity that we sometimes feel with the NDIS. So while sometimes it can be a little bit annoying to make changes or decisions or switch gears when our client needs and requires it, and sometimes it can feel like, you know, that their expectations are maybe a little bit in the wrong place. If you can position yourself so that you're able to move and adapt quickly and efficiently with them, once again, it's about that understanding and it's about that connection, and it's just about seeing the client and actually understanding it. How that works, you can work out together and use that as a relationship building tool if you need to. But we work in such a rapidly changing sector at the moment, and that we need to be able to react to those changes in order to actually help our clients succeed in what they're trying to achieve in their daily lives. And so it's important that your business's internal mechanisms and strategies that you have are a little bit agile, have got room to respond if there are changes that need to be made, and that your mind and your ego is actually open to those changing plans that might be coming. Okay. Number 4, they actually want accurate and useful service agreements. Okay. Service agreements, we know that it's sometimes something that everybody asks about all the time, and that a lot of us sometimes get a little bit unstuck and undone by. But according to the NDIS, the number 2 reason why clients actually leave a provider is due to cost overruns in their budgets. And clients don't really want surprises when it comes to, well, hardly anything. So, you know, especially not money surprises. Nobody likes that anyway. So we must try and ensure that we are more accurate in our service estimates when we are onboarding clients, and that we are more accountable to those estimates as well. So we need to actually have a really, really good understanding from the get-go how your client works, and be very, very clear about how their own behavior and choices also impact the budget. So rounds of revisions, delays in approvals, invoicing, decisions to get reversed, all of those parameters need to be outlined and actually communicated and talked about with the client at a very, very early stage in your relationship with them. How will we handle if this was to happen? What's your thinking at? What do you feel about, you know, if this funding changes or that bit runs out? How do you think you would like to handle it if that was to happen for us? Those conversations are tough, especially when we're just meeting them, especially when we're new at building businesses. Because let's be honest, how many people are comfortable talking about money? I don't know a lot of people that are comfortable talking about money. And a lot of clients don't feel like they want to or need to talk about their budgets and money. And I'm not talking about tell me what your budget is. It's more about understanding what their needs are, if they have a clear understanding around their budget and what their needs are, and whether there's anything from that end that you can do to actually support them and make sure that what you provide them at the end of the day fits the purpose for them. So we all know that there can be a lot of unknowns when it comes to the NDIS. So finding ways to talk about the potential of some of these situations that may come to light, and how you'll deal with them at the front end and not later when the proverbial hits the fan. That's probably the key, because we don't want clients with jaws on the floors when all of a sudden that invoice comes in and it's like, oops, you know. We try and avoid that at all costs. So making sure that we have that discussion around our service agreements and what we're providing our client at the first get-go is really, really important. It's also a really good tool to build trust when you are putting them first and saying, we don't want this to happen. We're here to look after you. We're here to make sure that you're getting what you require as often as you require it. Let's have an open conversation and let's make sure that we cover some of these areas. Number 5, they want attention. So that may seem like, yeah, and of course they do. That's what it's there for, right? But it's shocking how many providers can easily let this bit slip because they're busy, and we all are busy. You know, we've got a lot of clients that we're potentially working with. We've got time constraints. We can only charge for that much. We've got transport. We've got all of those things that we need to consider. So having the right strategies and systems in place in your business so that you can answer emails, so that you can take their phone calls, so that you can return their questions, so that they can be considered comebacks and considered responses to what a client may need, so that their concerns are addressed, and it needs to be done in a very, very reasonable time frame. So your team would be able to do a great job and have really brilliant ideas, but if you don't take that call when your client really needs to talk through something, almost nothing else matters, because they don't feel heard. They're just a number, and they'll probably talk to me about that at our next shift. Try not to do that. It is difficult, but if we have a plan, we have our systems and our processes in place, then we can mitigate these sorts of things ahead of time. They want to feel confident that you're there for them. So if you are going to do everything in your power to make their world run smoothly, after all, that's the promise that you've probably made them at a meet and greet to try and onboard them in the first place, right? Is that we want to be here for you. We want to work with you. We want to make your world run smoothly. So don't abandon them after you got what you wanted and they're on board. Make sure that you really do have the systems and the processes in place to be able to do exactly that. With the trend that is moving towards sole traders and many startups, small disability services that are happening now, staff resources can really affect your ability to service your client in a way that really meets their expectations. That's the honest truth and reality of it. That's where becoming a business owner is really, really important, and really understanding, how do I actually provide this service? So you need to manage those expectations and have these strategies in place that works, that are tried and true. So depending on what works for your business structure, you need to kind of let them know that maybe their calls or their emails would be returned by the end of the day. So that, except in emergency situations, of course, there's always outside of the square, when there's emergencies. But, clients need to have a very, very clear expectation as to when they can expect that communication to happen. So whatever it is, pick the highest level of service that you can consistently deliver and communicate, so that your clients know what to expect, and then deliver on it, like actually make it happen. So the other thing that I want to make people aware of is sometimes when we do have a little bit of a larger business and we want to onboard people, we kind of bring out all the big guns, right, in the first instance to get the client on board. So we've got our best trained staff, all of those sorts of things coming to the meet and greets because you're courting a new client. But the minute that we've onboarded them, we're assigning junior staff to that client. And they never kind of see the owner of the business again, or the team leader, or the person that they've actually started to build that relationship with. So that speaks volumes to a client, just how much you actually value them and their business. So try and not do that. When you are going to a meet and greet, try and present the team to them that's going to be working with them, so that they can start to build that trust, build that relationship with those faces and with those people that you're putting in front of them in the first place. The last bit that I sort of want to talk about today around this is continuity of care. No surprises there. Everybody wants that. But client wants you to solve their problems, and we know that. They want the love, they want the attention, they want the great ideas on how to meet their needs and how to meet their goals. They want that kind of innovative strategy that they want. But, you know, what does continuity of care mean to that client? Sometimes that client seems to think that that continuity of care means that I have the same support worker with me every time, every shift. That's not reality. That's not always doable. There's a human factor involved here. You get sick, you need to take a break, you want to take a holiday, all of those sorts of things. So continuity of care isn't that I just work with one person and that's my continuity of care, because what they want from you, they haven't been able to get perhaps from previous providers over the last few years, because, you know, a lot of us have kind of been burnt with the promises that were made and then was never able to be kept. Not always the provider's fault or the worker's fault, by the way. You know, government has moved the goalposts a lot of times over the last few years, and we're all bearing the brunt of that sometimes when it comes to those sorts of things. So it's not necessarily on our side that some of these issues have happened and have occurred over the last years that clients haven't been very happy with. But according to the NDIS outcomes dashboard, the top 3 responses when clients were asked, what do you value most in a provider relationship? Number 1 was expertise and quality of care. So that was number 1. Number 2 was that person-centered care. And number 3 was continuity of care. And that continuity of care, person-centered care, and quality for me is kind of all encompassing that you can do in one strategy, because to me, it's about what strategy do you provide for continual, consistent service for your client, and that they know what they're expecting all of the time. It's about presenting the team to them, even if it is only 2 or 3 of you. Maybe if it's just that, presenting the team, this is your team. If it's not me, you can expect this person or you can expect that person, but there's not going to be a stranger knocking on the door. If we need to employ a new worker and a new person, please introduce that person that may see that client before there's a surprise shift where that's concerned. And that could even just be via an email, via a message, via a phone call to say, look, we've had a change in stuff. It happens. People expect that. That's not new. It's communication that is key. It's communication that makes people feel connected and understood and heard and listened to. So the change is not the problem. It's how we handle that change. That's the issue. So make sure that we are on the front foot with communication and that we let our clients know there's a change here. This might be a really good thing for you because there's another person that might be able to fill a gap or to do all those sorts of things. They don't want Paul. They're not looking to help you build your business, right? The clients do not think that way. They're not wanting the provider that doesn't connect with them either and simply does their job and go home. They're looking for that great working relationship, that quality care that feels like they're a human being and that they are seen and heard. And if we can actually make people feel connected and seen and heard, like I said, that people will forgive you almost anything if you connect. And that's the piece I think we often forget when we're trying to grow our business, because we're selling. Here's my services, buy my services and sign my service agreement. Please, I promise I'll do a really good job. We all say the same thing. Give the value that the clients want and do that by example. How do we do that? We do that by building a great platform of attraction that is not built around, what will I use in an example? A website. Most people's websites, you know, about us, here's our services, contact us, and here's, you know, how you can come and work with us, right? Are you telling them what you're actually bringing to the table? Are you actually sharing with them your history and your expertise around really what matters, really what cares? I look at websites every single day of my life and building businesses, and I will tell you that 8 out of 10 people won't even show their own faces on their websites. So where's the connection piece when they don't know who they might be working with, who's standing behind that business, who is owning that business and taking responsibility for your relationship and your care. So being as open and being as available builds trust, even if it's just a person saying, this is who I am, I'm the business owner, here's the buck stops here. And that builds trust in a really, really big way. And one way to be able to do that is to make sure that you have a very, very good business plan around how you provide your care and your service, because if you know who your ideal client is, what they really need, then you understand what problems you need to solve for them. You need to do that homework. Understand the problems that you need to solve for your ideal client, because everybody's not our client. Everybody's not going to connect with us. We're not qualified or suited to work with every single person. It's not possible. Really do the homework behind who is your ideal client, what their true problems are. When you understand what their main problems are, figure out how you're solving those problems for that family, for that person, and please communicate that on your website. Okay, everybody knows what we provide as service providers most of the time if we're very, very clear in what it is that we do. Solve their problems, be the solution, and show them how to do that by adding value. So when you are doing content and you are posting on your social media, stop telling them about what you've got available and what your services are. Start telling them how you do your job, what motivates you, what you love about these sorts of things. Educate them on certain things. Educate them on certain areas and topics around the spaces that you work in. Those kinds of things is what shows people how, shows people why you. Your services don't tell people why you, they just tell them what you do. That they can go and look at the page, that's fine. But having a really good plan behind how you actually connect with your clients, continue that connection, have your client retention strategy. How do I communicate with my client in a really good way? How do I listen to them? What are the questions I need to ask? How often do I need to check in with these clients to make sure that they feel connected with? All of those sorts of things is what's really important. And I've only set aside a half an hour for us today because I didn't kind of think that there would be, I was hoping for some questions. But as I said, I've built some content for us off the back of this, given the interest, and I will send that to everybody. I will find my link that I've tried to build and put it in the chat for us so that you guys can put your email addresses in, and I will be happily sending that to you. And please feel free to connect with me one-on-one if you have a question that you would like answered. I'm very happy to do that for this week and actually go through. Oh, thank you very much, Ray. That's what I needed. I really hope that being able to give you a little bit of a deeper understanding around how to make these connections and how to really figure out what your client really wants will be of help to you. The easiest thing to think about how to make your clients happy is to stop thinking about them as the clients, right? Like I've said, we've all been clients to somebody at some point. So how would you like to be treated? How would you like to be worked with if you were engaging somebody in a service to you? So as a business owner, you know, you do have a lot in common with your clients. And if you're looking to grow, you know, and you're looking to differentiate yourself from your competition and set yourself aside, then understanding your client is a really, really key part of that journey for you and your business. You can't solve people's problems if you don't and meet their needs if you're not continuing to investigate them and to ask more about them and to do those sort of things, then you're just continuing to offer a generic service. So, of course, you're going to still have a business. We're in an underserviced sector. You don't have to do any of this, right? You might still get some clients. That's not the issue here. If you really want to make a difference, then connect, make that connection. So focus on providing value and not the selling piece, because I promise you that bit will come. The clients will come if they can feel the connection. So I am just going to, if I can find the chat, where is it? There. I'll just paste a link in there. Please put your details in there and I will forward you our content and our ebook. From that will hopefully go a little bit deeper with what we've talked about today. I didn't want to make this very long given the time, given that it's in the middle of the week and most people are working. And I appreciate each and every one of you showing up today. If there is a question and you would like it answered, I'm happy to hang and do that now, if there is anybody.
I'll ask.
Yes. Hi, Isabella.
Hello, Sue. Thank you so much for sharing your information. I'm actually all for this. I just graduated my diploma in counselling, and I think it's really important to listen to not only your client, but anybody who you speak to. And so I'm all for really helping families, but I guess my real question is, what are the main platforms that you go to, or where clients who actually want to grow in this business, like with you along on this journey?
That is where having a really good business plan and a marketing plan comes in. So there is no magic pill, no magic button, no magic platform that you can have. You have to build a platform of attraction for your business to be able to connect with people on a wider scale. Not everybody is communicated to in the same way or receives information the same way. So having a bit of a plan around that, and a plan such as that may look like, obviously we have a website that we communicate with in one way, where we're kind of putting all of our wares out there and people can see it and connect with us if they want to. Using our social media platforms that help us build content of value. Like I said, please don't view social media as a place to sell your services. People know that's what you're there for automatically, because that's your business page that's there and you're doing that. So they get that already. Give them value, educate them on something, give them a solution, teach them something. Those kinds of things is what social media is for. Make sure it's connected with your website so that you can send people to and from and grow the eyes on your business through organic SEO. That is much, much stronger. Then you should have some other strategies that come into play on the side of that, that are basically some strategies for you to build referral resources within your sector. So trying to build that business to business connections is a very, very important part of your business. Why? Because when you find the right relationships that you can connect and collaborate with, those are consistent referral sources that will come to you at a more regular basis than what I call spray and pray, which is, we're obviously building the platform. We've got the website, we've got the social media, but it is spraying and praying. We're kind of spraying our information and our value out there, and we're praying that something comes back, and we're talking to the individual and to the family and to those sorts of people that we're hoping will come on board. We have to have that professional business to business connections and networking on the go all the time in the background to build that really, really important business relationships on the side. And that takes time and effort, because once again, not everybody suits and fits us. And so finding them is really important. So using a platform such as LinkedIn is a very good space to start, because a lot of people that are in that kind of professional field do live on LinkedIn a little bit, do put their details out there, and it's one way to be able to connect. Now, I do teach strategies around how to connect with people and how to ascertain whether the relationships are valid or not valid. And that, that's a whole other 2 hours that we could spend, and that I actually am looking to bring to our group at some point, is to teach them that business referral network building process. But it's an all-encompassing plan around a business-to-business connection, building a platform of value where people can find you of interest and find you not selling, but inviting and educational and caring and all of those sorts of things. It has to be done on an ongoing basis. You have to find a way to be able to be consistent, because you need to be able to build that momentum. And building that momentum means that we don't need a plan that's this big. You don't have to have 15 activities that you do week in and week out. Pick 2 or 3 or 4 good ones that you can repeat on either a daily or a weekly basis, that is going to keep building for you. That's where the key is. We're running small businesses. We're not big corporates here. We don't need to have a plan that looks like Hewlett Packard's. Okay, it's something that, please keep that connection piece in mind all the time. With our communications, it's about connection. So don't, when you connect with somebody on LinkedIn to try and build a relationship, just go, this is what I do. Do you have some referrals? Here's my services. Do you like my services? Please don't do that. You could easily say, I've had a look at your business. I really like what I've read. I actually think we might have some really good synergies. I'd like to know more about what it is that you guys do there. Would you have 15 minutes for me to have a chat with you around your business, and so that I can introduce myself? That's all you need to say, because we're interested in them giving, not wanting to get all the time. We feel that when we're building a business, we need to go out and ask. You don't, what's the saying that we were all grown up with, right? You don't get if you don't ask. I kind of don't go that way. Like, I kind of feel like we get when we give a lot more, and more of an ideal client if we're doing it that way around than just anything and anyone. Anybody else? Anything else? Oh, good. All right. Well, spray and pray. Yes, Jason. You may use it. That's all good. Thank you, everybody, for being here and for listening. And like I said, that link is in there. I will post it in the group again and in other areas, because I know in a chat like this it can get a little bit lost. So if you want to have a little bit more information around a connection and what your clients really want and how to do that, perhaps help yourself build a little bit of a platform of attraction around what I've sort of lightly touched on today, I'll be more than happy to send you what I've got. And if there's any other questions, you guys know how to connect with me one-on-one, so please feel free to do so anytime. And then I will let you all go and have your lunch if you haven't had it and get back to work. But thank you so very much.